Hana Kim stood at the window of Seoul Medical Center watching the rain. Her fingers tapped lightly on the glass, feeling the tiny vibrations of each raindrop. She couldn't hear the storm, but she could feel it. Hana had been born deaf, but her hands knew things other people's ears told them. Today was a big day. Hana had 3 surgeries planned. The first was in 10 minutes. As the best surgeon in the hospital, everyone wanted her to fix them. What made her special wasn't fancy tools or new methods, it was her hands. Dr. Kim, the nurse, wrote on a tablet and showed it to Hana. "Your patient is ready." Hana nodded and followed the nurse to the operating room. The room was bright and clean. 6 people in green scrubs waited for her. They all moved their hands in greeting, using sign language they had learned just for her. The patient was a middle-aged man. His heart was sick and needed repair. Hana washed her hands carefully, then put on her thin surgical gloves. Some doctors used thick gloves, but Hana needed to feel everything. "Beginning procedure," she signed, and a nurse translated for the team. Hana's hands moved with perfect calm. When she touched the man's heart, her fingers sensed things no machine could show. A small flutter here, a rough spot there. She felt the tiny problem that the scans had missed. Her hands knew what to do without anyone telling them. 2 hours. Later, the surgery was done, perfect as always. The man would live a long life now. "You're amazing, Dr. Kim," a young doctor signed to her as they left the room. Hana just smiled. She didn't think she was special. Her hands just understood bodies in a way others didn't. After her second surgery, Hana sat in the break room eating lunch. The TV on the wall showed something about space. She couldn't hear it, but the pictures caught her attention. People in nice clothes shaking hands with strange-looking creatures. The words at the bottom of the screen said, "First contact delegation being formed." Hana didn't care much about space or aliens. She had patients to help here on Earth. Later that afternoon, as she prepared for her last surgery, Dr. Lee, the hospital director, came to find her. "Dr. Kim," he signed, his hands moving slowly since he was still learning. "There are people here to see you, very important people, from the government." Hana frowned. She pointed at the clock, then at her schedule. "I know you have surgery," Dr. Lee signed, "but they say it's about the future of human-alien relations. They asked for you specifically." Hana sighed and nodded. The surgery could wait 15 minutes. In Dr. Lee's office, 3 people in dark suits waited. A woman with short hair stepped forward. "I'm Director Jin from the International Space Agency," she said, while an interpreter signed her words for Hana. "We're putting together Earth's first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Assembly. We need someone with your special talents." Hana's hands moved quickly. The interpreter spoke her signs aloud. "I'm a surgeon, not a diplomat. I don't know anything about aliens." Director Jin smiled. "That's exactly why we need you. All our diplomats and linguists are struggling to communicate with some species. Their languages are too different, but all living things have bodies. All feel pain and pleasure. Your ability to understand bodies through touch might be our best chance at real communication." Hana shook her head. "I have patients here who need me. The whole human race needs you now," Director Jin said. "Just come to one meeting. See for yourself." Hana wanted to say no. Space didn't interest her. But something in Director Jin's eyes made her curious. She agreed to one meeting, nothing more. 3 days later, Hana sat in a secure government building, watching videos of humans trying to talk with aliens. Some aliens looked almost like people. Others were very strange, like moving plants or giant insects or floating balls of light. "We can translate some languages," an expert explained. "But 5 species have ways of speaking we can't figure out. Our computers don't help." Hana watched carefully. She noticed how the aliens moved, how their bodies tensed or relaxed. She could see patterns even if she couldn't hear words. Then alarms flashed red. People started running. A man rushed into the room. The Nuvari delegate collapsed. He shouted as the interpreter signed quickly. "Their medical team can't figure out what's wrong. They're in room 12. Without thinking, Hana stood and followed the man. In room 12, a creature lay on the floor. It looked like a tall, thin person with blue-gray skin and too many joints in its arms. Its eyes were closed and its chest barely moved. 3 other Nuvari stood nearby, making high chirping sounds. Human doctors stood helplessly with scanners that showed nothing useful. Hana stepped forward and knelt beside the sick alien. She reached out and gently touched its wrist. The skin felt cool and slightly rough, like fine sandpaper. She moved her fingers up the arm, feeling for pulse points. The alien's body was different from a human's, but all bodies had rhythms. All had flows and blockages. Hana's fingers found a spot where something felt wrong, a hard knot under the skin near what might be the alien's liver or something like it. She pressed gently in different places, watching how the alien's breathing changed. When she found the right spot, she made a quick motion to a nearby doctor. "Scalpel," she signed. "Now." The doctors looked alarmed. "You can't just cut into an alien without—" But the Nuvari delegates were watching Hana closely. One stepped forward and made a gesture that clearly meant yes. The doctor reluctantly handed Hana a surgical kit. With perfect confidence, she made a small, precise cut. Dark green fluid spurted out, and immediately the alien's breathing eased. Hana quickly stitched the small wound closed. The Nuvari delegate opened its large eyes. It looked at Hana and reached one long-fingered hand toward her face. Gently, it touched her cheek, then made a series of patterns on her skin with its fingertips. Somehow Hana understood. Not words, but feelings. Gratitude, relief, recognition. She placed her hand on the alien's shoulder and squeezed gently in. Response. The alien's mouth moved in what was clearly a smile. "What just happened?" Director Jin asked, her voice full of wonder as the interpreter signed. "An abscess," Hana signed back. "Fluid pressure was crushing an organ. Simple fix." "But how did you know? Our scanners showed nothing." Hana shrugged. "My hands knew. Bodies are bodies, even alien ones." The Nuvari who had touched her face was now making excited gestures to its companions. Then it turned to Director Jin and made a series of sounds. The translator machine spoke. "This human must come with your delegation to the assembly. She speaks the universal language of life itself. My people will support Earth's petition for membership if she comes." Director Jin looked at Hana with hope in her eyes. Hana looked at her hands. They had always been her connection to a world she couldn't hear. Now they might be humanity's connection to the stars. She nodded once, decisively. Her hands had work to do. 6 months passed quickly. Hana spent most of that time learning about alien bodies. She studied pictures, videos, and models of the 17 known intelligent species. Some had bones like humans. Others had hard shells. Some were soft all over. One kind was made mostly of crystal. The spaceship Horizon was huge and white. Hana stood at the boarding ramp looking back at Earth. Her parents stood nearby, trying not to cry. They were proud but worried. No one from Earth had ever gone so far into space before. "We'll message you every day," her father signed. Hana nodded and hugged them both. Then she turned and walked up the ramp. She was leaving her old life behind. On the ship, Hana met her new team. Most important was Dr. Tae-woo Park, a language expert who knew 7 human languages and was learning 3 alien ones. He would be her interpreter and partner. "It's an honor to work with you, Dr. Kim," Tae-woo signed. His hands moved gracefully and fast. He had learned sign language just for this mission. "Call me Hana," she signed back. "We'll be together for a long time." The Horizon took 3 weeks to reach the Galactic Assembly Station. It was a giant ring in space, spinning slowly. Different sections had different gravity, air, and temperature for each kind of alien. When they arrived, Captain June welcomed them to the bridge. On the big screen, they could see the station. "We're getting a strange message," said Captain June, while Tae-woo signed his words. "There's some kind of problem at the station." Hana watched the screen. The station looked normal, but she could see small ships moving quickly around it. "They're asking if we have medical staff," continued the captain. There's been an accident. Many aliens are hurt. Director Jin, who led the Earth team, stepped forward. We have doctors, yes, but they only know human medicine. The captain nodded. I told them that. They said to send anyone who can help. All eyes turned to Hana. I'll go, she signed, and Taewoo translated. I'll go with her, Taewoo added quickly. Director Jin looked worried. This wasn't the introduction to the assembly I wanted, but maybe helping them is the best way to show what humans can offer. The shuttle to the station was small and fast. Hana, Taewoo, and 3 human doctors sat quietly as they approached. Through the window they could now see damage on one side of the station. Something had exploded. When they docked, an alien met them at the door. It was tall and thin with 4 arms and smooth gray skin. Taewoo's translator device changed its clicks and whistles to human words. Thank you for coming, it said. I am Medical Director Klee. We had a power failure in the environmental systems. Many species were affected when their air and temperature controls failed. The alien led them quickly through the station. They passed through areas that felt too hot, too cold, or had air that made the humans cough. Finally, they reached a large room full of injured aliens. Some lay on tables, others floated in tanks. Some were inside special containers. Medical staff from different species moved around trying to help, but they looked confused and overwhelmed. Each species has its own doctors, explained Klee. But we don't know enough about each other's biology, and now the translation systems are failing too. As if to prove the point, Klee's next words came out as meaningless sounds. Taewoo's device had stopped working. Hana looked around the room. Without translators, no one could communicate. The doctors couldn't ask what hurt or explain what they were doing. It was chaos. She touched Taewoo's arm and pointed to a small blue alien that was shaking on a table. No one was helping it. They walked over. The blue alien had 6 thin legs and a round body. Its eyes were tightly closed, and it made high whining sounds. Hana gently placed her hand on its side. The skin felt cool and wet. She could feel a fast, uneven pulse. Something was wrong inside. She looked at the medical tools nearby but didn't recognize most of them. She made hand signals to Taewoo, who tried to ask the alien doctors for help. But without translators, they just looked confused. Hana took a deep breath. Then she placed both hands on the blue alien and closed her eyes. Her fingers moved slowly, feeling every bump and pulse. There, a spot where the rhythm felt wrong, a blockage of some kind. She opened her eyes and looked at the alien's doctor, a tall insect-like creature. She pointed to the spot and mimicked a pushing motion. The insect doctor tilted its head, not understanding. Hana tried again. She took the doctor's claw and guided it to the spot. Then she pressed the claw gently in a specific pattern. The insect doctor's antennae quivered. It made a chirping sound and carefully copied Hana's pattern. The blue alien suddenly relaxed, its breathing becoming steady. The insect doctor made a motion like a bow. Then it pointed to another patient. For the next 6 hours, Hana moved from patient to patient. She couldn't speak to them. They couldn't speak to her, but her hands found what was wrong and she showed their doctors what to do. A crystal being with a crack. A plant-like alien whose leaves were too dry. A floating ball of gas that needed to be rebalanced. Her hands understood them all. Taewoo stayed by her side, watching in amazement. When other human doctors tried to help, they struggled without scanners and knowledge. But Hana needed only her touch. By the time the emergency was over, 17 different species had been treated by Hana's hands. As the translation systems came back online, the alien doctors began to speak to each other about the human healer. She touched Grektal's inner membrane, said one. No non-Vosian has ever done that without causing pain. She realigned my cousin's crystal structure, said another. Our own healers need 3 years of training to do that. Director Jin arrived with Captain June just as Hana finished with the last patient. The room was now full of curious aliens all watching her. What happened? Here? Director Jin asked, looking surprised. Medical Director Klee stepped forward. Your silent healer has done something unprecedented. She has treated multiple species without words, without training, without technology, just with her hands. Doctor. Kim is exceptional, said Director Jin proudly. But she is just one example of human potential. Then humans are more remarkable than we thought, said Klee. The assembly session tomorrow will be very interesting. Later, back in their quarters, on the station, Tae-woo brought Hana a hot drink. She was exhausted. You were amazing today, he signed. You've done more for human-alien relations in 6 hours than our diplomats could have done in 6 years. Hana smiled tiredly. I just did what I always do. Bodies speak a language that doesn't need words. The assembly leaders want you to appear at the main session tomorrow, Tae-woo signed. They're calling you the human who speaks with hands. Hana took a sip of her drink. She had never wanted fame or attention. She had just wanted to help people. But now people meant something much bigger. Will you stand with me tomorrow? She asked Tae-woo. Always, he signed, his hands gentle in the quiet room. Your hands may speak to aliens, but they also speak to me. Hana looked at her hands, then back at Tae-woo. For the first time, she wondered if they might be saying more than she realized. The next morning, Hana stood outside the assembly chamber. Her heart beat fast. She had never spoken to so many important people before. Tae-woo stood beside her, calm and ready to translate. Don't worry, he signed. Just be yourself. That's what they want to see. The doors opened. Inside was a huge round room with seats rising in circles. Each section was different, made for different kinds of aliens. Some seats were in water, some hung from the ceiling. Some were just spots of light. Hana and Tae-woo walked to the center of the room. All eyes, and things that weren't exactly eyes, watched them. The assembly leader, a tall being with golden skin, spoke from a high platform. Yesterday, our station faced a crisis. Many lives were at risk, but this human, without speaking a word of any galactic language, saved 17 different species. This is unexpected. Whispers and clicks and electronic sounds filled the room. The aliens were talking about her. Humans are new to our assembly, continued the leader. We know little about them, but perhaps we have underestimated them. Dr. Hana Kim, would you show us how you communicate? Tae-woo translated, and Hana nodded. She stepped forward and looked around the room. Then she raised her hands and began to sign. I was born without hearing. Tae-woo spoke her signs aloud while translation devices changed his words for each species. So I learned to listen with my hands. They tell me what others can't say. All bodies, human or alien, speak a language of touch. I just listen. An alien that looked like a cloud of purple gas moved forward. But how do you know what to do? You have no training in non-human medicine. Hana smiled. She signed, and Tae-woo translated. Pain feels like pain in any body. Health feels like health. My hands can tell the difference. For the next hour, Hana answered questions. Some aliens were curious. Some were suspicious. Some wanted to touch her hands themselves. At the end, the assembly leader spoke again. Dr. Kim has shown us something valuable. The ability to communicate without words could help in many situations. We propose creating a new protocol based on her methods. And so, the touch protocol was born. For the next month, Hana worked with alien doctors and diplomats to create a system of touches and gestures that anyone could use when translators failed. One evening, Hana sat with Tae-woo in the station's garden area. It was a peaceful place with plants from many worlds. They had been working hard and both were tired. The touch protocol is already being used in 3 star systems, Tae-woo signed. You've changed how species talk to each other. Hana looked at her hands. I never thought I would do something this important. You deserve all the praise, signed Tae-woo. He seemed to want to say more, but stopped. A soft light began to blink on Tae-woo's communicator. He checked it, and his eyes widened. The Myridians have sent a message. They want to meet you. Hana tilted her head. The Myridians were one of the oldest and most mysterious species in the galaxy. They rarely spoke to anyone, even other assembly members. Why me? She signed. They've heard about the touch protocol. They say they have a problem only you can solve. 2 days later, Hana and Tae-woo stood in a special meeting room. The air was thick and warm, filled with a sweet smell. 3 Myridians floated in the center. They were beautiful and strange. Their bodies looked like networks of glowing blue lines, like rivers of light shaped roughly like humans. They had no solid parts. They were living patterns of energy. "We thank you for coming," said the tallest one. Its voice came from a small device that hung in the air. "I am Elder Vish. We have watched your work with great interest." Hana nodded politely as Tae-woo translated. "Our people face a serious problem," continued Elder Vish. "Our young ones are dying. Not their bodies, but their minds. They cannot connect. They cannot feel. We believe you might help them." "But I know nothing about Myridian biology," Hana signed. "That is why we need you," said Elder Vish. "Our doctors know too much. They see only what they expect to see. You see with new eyes, or rather, new hands." Elder Vish moved closer. "We invite you to our homeworld. No human has ever been there, but we are willing to make this exception." Tae-woo looked alarmed. "That's a great honor, but we need to discuss this with Earth Command. It's not a decision we can make alone." The Myridian pulsed with blue light. "Of course. But please understand the urgency. Our young ones fade a little more each day." After the meeting, Director Jin called an emergency session with the Earth team. "This is incredible," she said. "The Myridians are the most advanced species in the assembly. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. If they open relations with Earth..." "But we know almost nothing about them," argued Captain June. "It could be dangerous." "Hana should decide," said Tae-woo. "It's her they want." Everyone turned to Hana. She thought carefully, then signed. "I became a doctor to help people. If these beings are suffering and I might help, I should try." "Then I'm going with you," Tae-woo signed firmly. 1 week later, a Myridian ship took them to the mysterious homeworld. It was beautiful from space, a blue-green planet with 3 small moons. The Myridian city was unlike anything they had seen before. Buildings made of light and energy rose into the sky. There were no streets, just flowing paths of color that Myridians floated along. Elder Vish led them to a large dome where young Myridians stayed. They were smaller than the adults, their light pattern simpler. But even Hana could see something was wrong. Their lights flickered weakly. They barely moved. "They do not respond to us anymore," explained Elder Vish. "They do not form new connections. It is as if they are blind to each other's signals." Hana approached one of the young ones. It was about the size of a human child. Its light was pale and pulsed unevenly. Carefully, she reached out her hand. The young Myridian didn't move. Hana gently touched the edge of its energy field. A strange feeling ran up her arm. Not pain, but something like music felt rather than heard. The young Myridian's light brightened slightly where she touched it. Hana moved her fingers in small circles. The light followed her movement. She tried different patterns. The young one responded to some, but not others. After an hour of testing, Hana turned to Elder Vish. Her hands moved as Tae-woo translated. "I think I understand the problem," she signed. "Your young ones can't feel physical touch anymore. They only respond to electronic signals. But all living things need direct contact to develop properly." Elder Vish's light pattern changed. "Yes, that matches our fears. Our technology has made direct contact unnecessary. Perhaps we have relied on it too much." "On Earth, babies who aren't touched enough don't grow properly," Hana explained. "I think your young ones need to learn how to feel again." For the next 3 days, Hana worked with the young Myridians. She created games that required them to touch each other's energy fields. She showed adult Myridians how to make direct contact in ways their young could feel. Slowly, the young ones began to respond. Their lights grew stronger. They started to move more, and interact with each other. On the fourth day, Elder Vish gathered the Myridian Council. Dr. Kim has done what our best minds could not. She has shown us what we forgot, that all life needs touch. The council leader, a massive pattern of blue-white light, moved forward. We wish to thank Earth for sharing Dr. Kim with us. In return, we offer this. A small crystal appeared, floating in the air. This contains knowledge of our healing technology. It will advance human medicine by 100 years. And we have another request. We wish Dr. Kim to establish a teaching center here to share her gift with our healers. Tae-woo looked at Hana. Her eyes were wide with surprise. This was bigger than anything they had imagined. The council leader continued. This would require her to stay here for some time, perhaps a year. Hana looked at Tae-woo. A year was a long time, but the opportunity was too important to refuse. She raised her hands and signed her answer. Yes, I will stay and teach. Hana signed to the Myridian Council. But Tae-woo must stay too. I need him to translate. The Myridian's light patterns brightened with what seemed like happiness. It will be done, said the council leader. Baxu. On the Earthship, Director Jin was both excited and worried when she heard the news. This is an amazing opportunity, she said as Tae-woo translated. But a year is a long time, and we must tell Earth Command. The message to Earth took 3 days to send and receive an answer. When it came, the response was clear. Accept the Myridian offer. The knowledge they provide is too valuable to refuse. That night, Tae-woo found Hana in the observation room, looking at the stars. He sat beside her. Are you sure about staying? He signed. A year on an alien world is a big commitment. Hana nodded. I'm sure, but what about you? I didn't ask if you wanted to stay. I just said you had to. Tae-woo smiled softly. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. His hands moved to say, more, then stopped. Hana waited. Finally, he continued signing, his movements more careful now. I need to tell you something. I've tried to be professional, but I can't hide it anymore. I care for you, Hana, more than as a colleague or friend. Hana's eyes widened. She had been so focused on her work, on the aliens and the touch protocol, that she hadn't noticed. Or maybe she had, but hadn't let herself think about it. I don't expect anything, Tae-woo signed quickly. But before we spend a year together on an alien world, you should know how I feel. Hana looked at his hands that had spoken for her, that had been her voice when she had none, hands she had come to trust completely. She reached out and took his hands in hers. The touch said more than signs could. 2 weeks later, they moved to Myridia. The Myridians gave them a beautiful home made of what looked like glass and light. It changed colors with the time of day and had rooms that could become anything they needed. Hana's teaching center opened soon after. Alien doctors from across the galaxy came to learn the touch protocol. Many brought difficult cases, patients who couldn't be helped by normal methods. Hana worked with each one, showing how touch could find problems that machines missed. Tae-woo was always by her side, translating her signs into words that the universal translators could change for each species, but not everyone was happy about their success. 3 months into their stay, Tae-woo received a troubling message from Director Jin. There's a group called the Zal Consortium, he told Hana that evening. They control most of the translation technology in the galaxy. They're saying the touch protocol is dangerous. Dangerous how? Hana signed, looking confused. They claim you're not just communicating through touch. They say you're somehow controlling minds, that the touch protocol is a human trick to manipulate other species. Hana shook her head in disbelief. That's ridiculous. I'm just feeling what's already there. I know, signed Tae-woo, but they're powerful. They've called for a special assembly session to ban the touch protocol. The news spread quickly. Some species that had worked with Hana stood by her. Others became suspicious and stopped coming to the teaching center. Elder Vish visited them the next day. Do not worry, the Myridian said. Our people know the truth of your gift. We will stand with you at the assembly. But Hana was worried. She had never wanted fame or power. She had only wanted to help. Now she was at the center of a galactic political fight. The day of the assembly hearing came quickly. The chamber was fuller than Hana had ever seen it. Representatives from every known species were there. The Jal representative spoke first. It was a small being with 6 eyes and metallic skin. The human touch protocol bypasses proper translation procedures, it said. It creates dangerous dependencies. Some who receive this touch become strangely loyal to humans. Is this not suspicious? Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many seemed to agree. Next, a doctor who had worked with Hana defended her. The touch protocol saved my patient when nothing else could. There was no mind control, only healing. Back and forth the arguments went. Hana watched silently, feeling more and more frustrated. They were talking about her as if she wasn't there. As if she was a thing, not a person. Finally, Hana stood up. She walked to the center of the chamber, right in front of the Jal representative. Then she did something unexpected. She removed her communication device, the small computer that helped Taewoo translate for her. She placed it on the floor. Then she unplugged the universal translators in the room. Suddenly, no one could understand anyone else. The chamber erupted in confused sounds. Hana raised her hands for silence. Slowly, the noise died down. All eyes were on her. She pointed to herself, then made a motion inviting anyone to come forward. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, a small, plant-like alien stepped into the circle. Hana had never seen its species before. Carefully, she reached out. The plant being extended a leaf-like limb. Hana touched it gently, feeling its texture and temperature. She noted a dry spot, a place where the green was paler. Her fingers moved to that spot and pressed lightly in a circular motion. The plant being shuddered, then straightened up taller. Its color deepened to a richer green. It made a sound that needed no translation. A sigh of relief. Then another alien came forward, and another. From every section of the chamber, they came. Beings she had never met, species she had never touched. One by one, she found something in each of them, a tight muscle, a blocked energy flow, an area of pain they had hidden. And one by one, she helped them. Not with words or machines, just with her hands. After an hour, she stopped. She was tired, but stood tall. She looked directly at the Jal representative and held out her hand, inviting it to come forward too. The 6-eyed being hesitated, then slowly stepped toward her. The chamber was completely silent. Hana touched the metallic skin carefully. It was cooler than she expected, with a slight vibration underneath. Her fingers moved along what seemed to be joints, finding a spot where the vibration felt uneven. With gentle pressure, she adjusted something. The Jal representative straightened suddenly. Its eyes blinked in sequence. "My chronic pain," it said, in its own language. Though the translators were off, the meaning was clear from its posture and the way it touched the spot Hana had fixed. "It's gone." Taewoo stepped forward then and turned the translators back on. His voice was proud as he spoke. This is the truth of the touch protocol. Not control, not manipulation. Just one being helping another. The most basic language in the universe. The language of life itself. The assembly voted that day. The touch protocol was not only approved but would become standard training for medical staff throughout the galaxy. As they left the chamber, Taewoo took Hana's hand. "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen," he signed with his free hand. Hana smiled. "Sometimes hands speak louder than words," she signed back. That night, they stood on the balcony of their Myridian home, watching the 3 moons rise. Taewoo's arm was around her shoulders, and for the first time in a long while, Hana felt completely at peace. "I love you," Taewoo signed simply. Hana's hands answered, but so did her heart. The silent revolution had changed the galaxy, and it had changed her too. 5 years passed. The small teaching center on Myaridia grew into something much bigger. Now there were 17 centers on different worlds. They were called Kim Centers, after Hana. Hana and Taiwu didn't stay on Myaridia for the whole 5 years. After the first year, they traveled to different planets to open new centers. Then they returned to Earth for a while. Hana's parents cried when they saw her again. So much had changed. The biggest change was inside Hana herself. She was no longer just a doctor. She was a bridge between worlds, between bodies that had nothing in common except that they lived. Hana and Taiwu got married on Earth. The ceremony was small, but the guests were not all human. Elder Vish came from Myaridia. So did representatives from 12 other species. It was the first alien-attended wedding in human history. A month after the wedding, they moved to the Galactic Assembly Station. Hana was now the head of a new department, interspecies medicine. Her job was to train doctors from all species in the touch protocol. One morning, Hana sat in her office looking at pictures from the newest Kim Center on a planet called Jero. The Jeroians were like big turtles with 6 legs. They had always been suspicious of other species, but now they had their own touch protocol center. Taiwu came in with tea. His signing had become so natural that he sometimes signed even when speaking aloud to others. Good news, he signed, setting down the cup. The first class of human touch protocol students is graduating today. Hana smiled. These weren't ordinary students. They were people like her, deaf, blind, or with other differences that Earth had once seen as disabilities. Now these differences were valued. People who experienced the world differently often had gifts others didn't. And there's more news. Taiwu signed, his hands moving with excitement. The doctor confirmed it this morning. We're having a baby. Hana's eyes widened. She placed a hand on her stomach, then reached for Taiwu's hand and placed it there, too. They had been trying for a baby for 2 years. Boy or girl, she signed. Girl, he replied. And the doctor says she's healthy, but... He paused. But what? Hana asked, suddenly worried. The tests show she might be deaf, like you. Hana looked at him, trying to read his expression. Was he disappointed? But Taiwu was smiling. She'll have your hands, he signed. Your gift. Tears filled Hana's eyes. On Earth before all this, many would have seen deafness as something to fix. But Taiwu understood what Hana had always known, that sometimes what seems like a limitation can be a different way of knowing the world. Later that day, they attended the graduation ceremony. 20 humans with different abilities stood proudly in the assembly chamber. Some were deaf, some were blind. One had no arms, but could feel vibrations with his feet. Another had a brain that processed touch in unusual ways. All had learned the touch protocol. All could communicate with alien bodies through touch alone. Hana gave a speech with Taiwu translating. 5 years ago, I thought I was special, she signed. Now I know better. The ability to truly feel another being is not rare. It is in all of us. Some just need to find it in different ways. After the ceremony, Director Jin, now Earth's ambassador to the assembly, approached them. She had aged in the 5 years, her hair now more gray than black. The assembly is planning something special, she told them. Next month is the 10-year anniversary of Earth joining the galactic community. They want you to speak at the main ceremony, Hana. Me? Hana signed, surprised. Wouldn't you be better? Or Captain June? No, said the ambassador. You are the face of humanity to the galaxy now. You showed them what humans can offer. And it wasn't our technology or our military strength. It was our capacity to connect. 1 month later, Hana stood before the largest gathering in assembly history. Representatives from all known intelligent species filled the chamber. Even species that rarely left their homeworlds had come. Hana was 4 months pregnant now. Her belly showed a small bump under her formal blue dress. Taiwu stood beside her, handsome in his matching blue suit, ready to translate. 10 years ago, Hana began signing. I left Earth for the first time. I was afraid. The universe was so big and I was so small. I didn't know if I could help. I didn't know if I belonged. The chamber was completely silent as Taewoo spoke her words aloud, and translation devices carried them to every ear, hearing organ and sensory receptor in the room. What I found was that belonging isn't about being the same. It's about finding ways to connect despite our differences. My hands became my bridge to you. Your bodies became your bridge to me. As she signed, Hana looked around the chamber. So many different beings. Different shapes, sizes, materials. Some breathed air. Some breathed water or other things. Some didn't breathe at all. The touch protocol is now used by thousands of healers across the galaxy, but it's more than medicine. It's a reminder that all life, no matter how strange it seems, shares something deep. We all know pleasure and pain. We all seek connection. We all need touch. Hana paused, placing a hand on her belly. My daughter will be born in 5 months. She will grow up in a galaxy where Earth is not alone, where humans are one species among many, where difference is not something to fear but something to learn from. Then Hana did something she had practiced for weeks. She raised her hands and made a new sign, one that combined elements from human sign language with gestures from 12 alien communication systems. The sign meant, "We are different together." Slowly, beings throughout the chamber began to copy her movement. Those with hands raised them. Those with tentacles waved them. Those with wings spread them. Those made of light or gas shifted their patterns. The movement spread until every being in the chamber was making their version of the sign. It was the first truly universal gesture in galactic history. Taewoo's eyes shone with tears as he watched. He didn't need to translate this. The meaning was clear to everyone. After the ceremony, Hana and Taewoo walked slowly through the station's main garden. Aliens of all kinds stopped to greet them, many making the new universal sign. Did you ever imagine this? Taewoo signed when they found a quiet spot. When you first left Earth? Hana shook her head. Never. I just wanted to help a few people. Maybe learn some new medical techniques. And instead you changed the galaxy. He signed with a proud smile. We changed it, she corrected him. I couldn't have done any of this without you. They sat together on a bench, watching the stars through the garden's clear dome. Hana took Taewoo's hand and placed it on her belly. The baby was kicking, feel that? She signed with her free hand. She's saying hello. Taewoo nodded, his face full of wonder. She'll be born into a better universe because of you. A universe where hands can speak when voices can't. Hana smiled and leaned against him. Her hands had taken her farther than she ever dreamed possible. From a hospital in Seoul to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. From a lonely child who couldn't hear to a woman whose silent touch had united worlds. She knew no alien language, but all life understood her hands.